Think you've seen everything there is to see on this planet? Then get ready to discover impossible places in this new video from Uncensored World. Islands so absurd, dangerous, and isolated that they look like something out of a science fiction or psychological horror movie. Some are lethal natural traps, with tribes that don't use clothing or technology capable of annihilating anyone who dares to enter, or millions of snakes that make survival impossible. Others hold secrets that no one wants to remember, such as haunted islands that hide societies persecuted for the color of their skin, islets where it is forbidden to die, or regions where women and even female animals are forbidden to enter. There are even islets where the inhabitants see everything in black and white, and others where jealousy does not exist and people can get together with whomever they want. Because there, simply, everything is allowed. Let's begin. North Sentinel, India, the most dangerous island in the world. In the heart of the Indian Ocean, more specifically in the Andaman Archipelago, lies the small island of North Sentinel. This island, administered by India, is inhabited by the dangerous Sentinelese tribe, one of the most savage and aggressive societies on Earth. Savage and aggressive, but only when it comes to defending their rights and freedom, as they do not want any human beings to approach their territory due to a history that you will soon discover. That is why, if anyone tries to enter their domain, the Sentinelese do not hesitate to attack or even kill anyone who sets foot on their beaches. This has already happened on several occasions. That is why this island is considered by many to be the most dangerous place on Earth. North Sentinel is the closest inhabited island to the rest of the Andaman Archipelago, but reaching its shores is a virtually impossible task. Impossible because this place is protected by Indian law, which prohibits anyone from approaching within 5 kilometers of the islet, but above all because its inhabitants defend their territory with their lives. Today, no boat or drone can fly over or approach without risking death. The island is surrounded by watchmen, and access is strictly controlled to ensure that the modern world does not invade this last almost untouched human refuge. The reason for this mistrust and lethality has to do with the history of this remote place. In the past, especially during the 20th century, there were several attempts by explorers, anthropologists, and missionaries to establish contact with the Sentinelese. It was believed that these attempts were sometimes successful when gifts were exchanged or signs of communication were observed. However, what initially seemed like a bridge to help them break their isolation was, in fact, a disaster. As upon coming into contact with the outside world, the Sentinelese began to suffer from diseases that are very common to most of us, such as colds and flu, which were lethal to them. These illnesses, so mild for most of us, caused mass deaths among the Sentinelese tribe because, due to their isolation for centuries, they were unprepared to face viruses and bacteria that their immune systems had never encountered before. From then on, the tribe's relationship with the rest of the world changed forever. The Sentinelese became hostile, convinced that any contact with strangers would bring death. It was a danger they could not understand but only suffer. This painful memory has been passed down from generation to generation, forming legends that serve to warn them of the dangers of any other human being approaching them. Today, the number of Sentinelese is very small and could decline even further if the modern world does not respect their territory. They are a people in danger of extinction, living without technology and without clothing, in complete harmony with their environment, with a history that reminds us of the fragility of ancient cultures. A few years ago, a young missionary attempted to reach North Sentinel with the intention of sharing the gospel with them. His arrival had a tragic outcome. The missionary was attacked by the island's inhabitants and lost his life shortly after landing. His body was never recovered. This story leaves us with an important lesson. The Sentinelese do not seek our lifestyle or our technology. They just want to live in peace, in their own way, and under their own rules. While the modern world must respect this wish, the scientific community looks at North Sentinel with fascination. as they believe that these tribes may hold answers that are still unknown to us, such as secrets about immunity, natural medicine, or human evolution. Sentinel North is considered the most lethal island on the planet, a place best avoided as setting foot on it can mean death, a possibility that is literally prohibited on the next island on the list. A remote, icy place teeming with polar bears very close to the North Pole. Longyearbyen, Norway, the island where it is forbidden to die and give birth. Longyearbyen is the largest town on the island of Spitsbergen, in the Svalbard archipelago in the Norwegian Arctic, one of the northernmost and coldest inhabited places on the planet. The extreme weather conditions and total darkness during the winter months, along with constant daylight in summer, make Longyearbyen a fascinating and challenging place to live. A striking curiosity of this island is that instead of the typical warning signs for cows or other animals, the warning signs feature drawings of polar bears. This is because in this region, these huge and dangerous predators often come down to inhabited areas, forcing the population to be always alert and prepared for their presence. In fact, polar bears are so common in the area that authorities recommend carrying weapons for protection in case of an encounter. In addition, this island is home to the famous global seed vault, known as the Vault at the End of the World. This underground refuge protects millions of crop seeds from around the planet, ensuring the preservation of biodiversity in the face of potential natural disasters or conflicts, a key point for the conservation and future survival of humanity. But the most peculiar thing about this island is possibly that it is forbidden to die there. You may wonder what the crazy reason for this could be, but as you will see, it all makes much more sense than it might seem. It is all due to permafrost. Permafrost is a layer or stratum of soil that remains permanently frozen for at least 2 consecutive years. This freezing occurs mainly in cold regions of the world, where ground temperatures remain below the freezing point of water, 0 degrees Celsius, for most of the year, even in summer. In this region, the ground remains frozen throughout the year, and due to these constant low temperatures, bodies do not decompose as they would in warmer climates. This poses a potential risk to public health if these deceased bodies are not properly treated. Therefore, seriously ill or dying people must be evacuated from this village in the Norwegian Svalbard Islands and taken to the mainland for appropriate medical care. Another surprising fact is that women cannot give birth on this island, as there are no hospitals for this purpose. For this reason, pregnant women leave weeks before their due date for other cities in the country to ensure a safe delivery away from this remote location. There are probably few places with such strange prohibitions as these, realities that are totally opposite to the next island on the list, since, being considered the most remote place on the planet, those who live there cannot escape either to be born or to die. Tristan da Cunha, United Kingdom, the most remote island in the world. In the heart of the vast South Atlantic Ocean, in a corner so isolated that it has been forgotten by time and civilization, stands Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited place on the planet. This island is surrounded only by thousands of kilometers of endless sea, creating a solitary point in the middle of an ocean that knows no borders or interruptions. A corner of the world so remote and isolated that it seems destined to remain uninhabited, where life shows itself in all its harshness and complexity, challenging those who dare to make their home there. Getting to Tristan da Cunha is no easy task, as there is no airport or direct connections. It can only be reached after several days of sailing from South Africa, crossing unpredictable and stormy waters, which further reinforces its mystery and isolation. Less than 300 people live on this island, forming an extremely close-knit and self-sufficient community, as one would expect. In Tristan da Cunha, life is far removed from the hustle and bustle and modern comforts, with human connection and wild nature setting the pace of each day. The inhabitants of Tristan da Cunha maintain traditions and customs that have been passed down for generations, forming a culture unique in the world that has much to do with this isolation and living in such a challenging environment. That is why almost everyone on this island shares the same surname, and couples are often cousins in order to preserve the small community, a practice that has given rise to a particular genetic makeup and the appearance of hereditary diseases that are rare in societies elsewhere in the world. There are no banks or ATMs on Tristan da Cunha. Everything works on a system of bartering and mutual trust, reflecting the incredible social cohesion of its residents. The island has only one school where children study until high school. To continue their higher education, they must temporarily leave Tristan da Cunha and face a reality very different from the one they left behind. Interestingly, most return to the island after completing their education and developing their professional careers. In addition to its people, Tristan da Cunha is also a refuge for unique species of flora and fauna, many of which are found nowhere else in the world, such as the Tristan albatross, a majestic seabird that nests exclusively here. The impact of the modern world is limited here, and although technology is beginning to arrive, the community prefers to preserve its simple lifestyle, based on a direct connection to the land and sea. As if that weren't enough, the island sits on top of an active volcano which, although now dormant, is a constant reminder of the untamed power of nature in this remote corner of the world. At any moment, this place, considered the most isolated on the planet, could be threatened or even disappear under the force of its own land. Tristan da Cunha is a living testimony to the human capacity to adapt, survive, and thrive in one of the loneliest and most extreme corners of the planet. An adaptation, like that of its genetics, which has much in common with that of the next island on the list, a place where most of the population sees everything in black and white. Pingelap, Micronesia, the island where they see in black and white. In the heart of the vast Pacific Ocean, hidden among an endless sea of mysteries and legends, lies Pingelap, an island where reality defies all logic, as most of its inhabitants see the world without colors, or rather, they see everything in black and white. It may seem like science fiction, but the world is truly amazing, and that's why we love creating and bringing you videos as interesting as this one. So, if you're not subscribed to Uncensored World, do it now and don't miss the videos we make every week. The island of Pingelap is famous in the scientific world, as it is the place where most people suffer from an extreme form of color blindness called achromatopsia, a rare genetic disorder that prevents them from distinguishing colors. That's why many people know Pingelap as the island of the color blind. If you're ever lucky enough to visit Pingelap or any of the other islands of Micronesia, you'll surely be amazed by their beauty and nature, their beautiful landscapes, turquoise waters, and extraordinary marine life. This beauty makes color blindness even more sad for the inhabitants of Pingelap, because despite living in a natural wonder full of colors, more than 10% of the island's inhabitants see life in black and white. Worldwide, it is estimated that this rare disease affects 3 in every 100,000 people. However, in Pingelap, statistics indicate that between 10 and 30% of the population is a carrier, meaning that between 10 and 30 people in every 100 suffer from this disease. And as is almost always the case in life, mysteries are there to be solved, and there is usually a reason for these surprising facts. According to our research, to understand the reality of this unique island, we have to go back to the year 1775. That year, a typhoon called Longyearbyen devastated the island, and only 20 people survived, including the tribe's leader, Norway, who is believed to have suffered from this rare disease of achromatopsia. With the aim of reviving the island, the leader decided to have many children, to the point that it is believed that all those currently affected are related to Norway. No one noticed any changes until the 4th generation, when achromatopsia appeared in part of the population. This problem increased in the 6th generation and has continued to spread to this day. Thus, thanks to this original inbreeding by the former leader of Pingelap, the island has become one of the most attractive places for genetic experts. We hope you are enjoying learning about these stories and mysteries. Please feel free to leave us a like. It costs you nothing and helps us a lot, so thank you. Apparently, Seeing in black and white also has its advantages for the inhabitants of this island, especially when the sun goes down. According to many of them, this rare condition gives them better vision in the dark, helping them to fish much better at night. A power that could perhaps help them enter and even inhabit one of the most lethal islands on the planet, a place where millions of poisonous snakes make access impossible. Queimada Grande, Brazil, the Snake Island. In the southwestern Atlantic Ocean, about 36 kilometers off the Brazilian coast, lies Queimada Grande, also known as Snake Island. This small island, measuring just 430,000 square meters, is one of the most deadly and enigmatic places on the planet. Its fame is due to the fact that it is literally overrun by snakes, with almost 1 per square meter, an incredibly high density that makes it a no-go area. The species of snake that dominates the island is called the golden jararaca, a snake endemic to this island, famous for its extremely potent and fast-acting venom. The venom of this snake is hemotoxic and can kill an adult in just 1 or 2 hours without urgent medical attention. For this reason, the Brazilian government has strictly prohibited access to the island, allowing entry only to authorized scientists conducting specific and extreme research. Queimada Grande can only be reached by boat, and due to the currents and sea conditions, the journey can be dangerous and very complicated. In addition, once on the island, the rocky terrain and dense vegetation make it difficult to move around, forcing researchers to take extreme precautions to avoid being attacked. Therefore, all visitors must be equipped with special clothing and protection to avoid bites. Scientists and experts who venture into Queimada Grande wear thick suits made of Kevlar or similar materials that are resistant to snake bites. They also wear reinforced leather boots that reach up to their knees, protective gloves, and some even wear gaiters or safety boot covers. They are also usually accompanied by an expert herpetology guide and always carry first aid kits with anti-venom specific to the golden jararaca. In many cases, movement within the island is so controlled that groups advance in single file, carefully marking each step on the ground. Queimada Grande is believed to have once been inhabited by humans, probably lighthouse keepers, but the constant danger posed by the snakes and the lack of resources led to the island being abandoned decades ago. Since then, Queimada Grande has become a natural sanctuary for these snakes, which have evolved without natural predators and proliferated enormously. A striking curiosity is that golden jararacas have developed unique adaptations to survive in this environment. For example, they are able to climb trees and bushes with great agility, allowing them to hunt migratory birds that visit the island. In addition, their bright golden color is not only a warning to potential predators, but also helps them camouflage themselves among the dry vegetation. Another mystery surrounding Queimada Grande is the exact reason why the snakes have reached such high densities. The most widely accepted theory is that when sea levels rose thousands of years ago, the island became isolated, trapping the snakes that already lived there. With no natural predators and abundant food, the snakes multiplied unchecked, making the island their perfect refuge. For all these reasons, this island is a unique and striking example of conservation. The ban on access helps to protect not only visitors, but also the golden jararacas, which represent a unique and fragile biological treasure. A ban much less curious than that of a region you are about to discover, where women and female animals are not allowed. Mount Athos, Greece, the region prohibited to women and female animals. We have reached the halfway point of the video, so before continuing with alien or haunted islands, the most overpopulated island on the planet, another where jealousy does not exist and everything is permitted, and an islet where African albinos hide, we are going to introduce you to another place which, although not an island, is one of the strangest regions on Earth. Because if there is one place in the world where women are forbidden to enter, it is this one. Although it may be hard to believe, Mount Athos, known as the monastic Republic of Mount Athos, is a peninsula and region of Greece where access is prohibited not only to women, but also to any female animal. As strange and absurd as it may seem, various signs indicate this warning both at the border of this peninsula and at various points throughout this mysterious region. To better understand this reality, we must begin by learning about the history of this place. Located on the Athos Peninsula, Mount Athos is home to 20 monasteries. Considered one of the most important centers of the Orthodox religion, it has been a refuge for monks and a place of pilgrimage for over 1,000 years. The strict ban on women entering the area, known as the Avaton, derives from this religious cult. This rule has been in force for centuries and is based on Orthodox tradition and the monastic laws that govern this region. The main reason why women and female animals are not allowed to enter is to preserve the spiritual environment. According to the monks, the mere presence of women could distract them from their life dedicated to prayer, meditation, and spiritual work. In addition, Mount Athos is considered a garden of the Virgin Mary, and according to tradition, she is the only woman who resides there in spirit. That is why allowing other women to enter would be, for the monks, an act of dishonor toward that devotion. The ban is so deeply rooted that it has been recognized and protected by both Greek law and international treaties. Access to Mount Athos is strictly regulated. Men who wish to visit, and only men, must obtain a special permit called a diamonatirion. This document is limited in number and duration of stay and is subject to a formal application. Women cannot obtain this permit under any circumstances, as female entry is legally prohibited and associated with severe punishment. If a woman were to attempt to enter, she would face serious legal consequences and, in some cases, even physical reactions from the guardians of the site. And although it may seem incredible, this restriction is not limited to human beings, as female animals are also prohibited from entering due to the monks' belief that both women and female animals could disturb the sacred atmosphere of Mount Athos. Although for many this rule may sound like senseless madness, perhaps even based on dark beliefs that still linger in the minds of certain sectors of the clergy, the reality is that this ban is still in force. At this point, and before learning about an island where jealousy does not exist and everything is permitted, we would like to ask you, what do you think about places like this that are off limits to women? Which of the islands you have visited so far would you like to visit? Pause the video and leave us your comments. We would love to hear from you, and you know that this is the best way you can help Uncensored World to continue working every week to create videos as interesting as this one. So thank you. Trobriand, Papua New Guinea, the island where everything is allowed. The Trobriand Islands are a group of islands located in the southeast of Papua New Guinea, an archipelago and isolated natural paradise in the Pacific, full of mysteries and fascinating traditions. This group of islands is one of the most remote and unspoiled destinations in the world, a place where time seems to have stood still. These islands are famous throughout the world because everything is permitted, or rather, everything related to the intimate lives of their inhabitants, a reality for which they are known as the Islands of Free Love. In this remote corner of the world, social norms are much more liberal than those of Western societies, and promiscuity is not only accepted, but also celebrated. The practice of free love, that is, being able to be with whomever you want, whenever you want, is a central feature of island life, where relationships are not marked by jealousy or the restrictions of monogamy. As a result, in Trobriand, people can have multiple partners, husbands and wives without facing the social stigma normally associated with such relationships in other parts of the world. Instead of judging or rejecting these relationships, Trobriand communities celebrate them as a way of strengthening social and family ties. The practice of free love in the Trobriand Islands can be understood from an anthropological perspective as a strategy for strengthening social bonds and community cohesion. In a society where family structure and cooperation are essential for the survival and well-being of the community, open relationships allow for greater flexibility in the formation of alliances between different clans. Unconstrained by jealousy or monogamy, the Trobrianders can weave a wider and more supportive network of ties, which in turn reinforces social stability. Furthermore, this practice is deeply influenced by their worldview, where fertility and abundance are seen as blessings brought by divine spirits, a reality that allows them greater freedom to experience relationships in a spiritual and natural way, without the ethical judgments so common in other cultures. Another surprising and striking reality of these islands is that within this society, women play a central role. The power of women is such that there is an annual festival, which you will learn more about in a few minutes, in which men from the islands must try to satisfy the women, and if they refuse, the women are allowed to pull out their eyebrows and eyelashes as punishment. On the islands, it is the women who dictate the rules within the community and have a great influence on decisions related to emotional relationships and family structures. Women are responsible for decision-making in many aspects of daily life, from interpersonal relationships to the management of resources within their homes. In fact, women have the power to choose their lovers and form relationships without having to abide by traditional norms of monogamy. It is common for a woman to have several partners at the same time, and this practice is socially accepted. Free love is the norm in the Trobriand Islands, one of the most isolated communities on the planet. An isolation that has nothing to do with that of a hidden island in the heart of Africa that you are about to discover, where thousands of albinos hide, persecuted by a witch hunt due to beliefs that make some inhabitants of this region of the planet consider them magical beings. Ukerewe, Tanzania, the secret island of African albinos. Hidden inside one of the largest lakes on the planet lies a secret island, a space reserved to protect human beings considered magical creatures by their persecutors. On this secret island, in the heart of Lake Victoria in Tanzania, the second largest freshwater lake in the world, African albinos have found a refuge that has been denied them in many other parts of Africa. For generations, desperate families abandoned their albino children on this island to save them from a terrifying fate. Instead of protection and respect, albinism in many African cultures has been synonymous with curse, extreme superstition, or omen. Ukerewe, without meaning to, became an unwitting hideout for the most vulnerable. In sub-Saharan Africa, albinos not only face the scorching sun without the protection of melanin, but also almost medieval persecution. They are captured, severely assaulted or killed by those who believe their bodies bring good luck, cure diseases, or hide treasures. In some areas, more than 60,000 euros are paid for their bones or hair on the black market of superstition. Amid this horror, Ukerewe emerged as an unexpected sanctuary. What began as an island of exile, with abandoned children and no family support, slowly became a welcoming community. There, many found not only safety but also companionship, dignity, and new opportunities in life. Although social exclusion did not disappear completely, local society began to change. In the island schools, materials were adapted for the visual impairments of albino children. Large print, magnifying glasses, and personalized resources. Educational inclusion began to sow the seeds of acceptance from childhood. Language was also a tool for transformation. In Swahili, the word zeruzeru is used to refer to albinos, and although it is not offensive in itself, in many regions it is laden with stigma. In Ukerewe, the use of more neutral and respectful terms has been promoted as a way of changing not only words, but also mindsets. Beyond the human aspect, Ukerewe is also a natural refuge. It is the largest island in Lake Victoria and is surrounded by unique biodiversity, with exotic birds and landscapes that look like something out of a documentary. The tranquility of its environment has been a reflection of a community that, despite its wounds, has learned to flourish. The new generation of albino children in Ukerewe is growing up with something their predecessors could hardly imagine: hope. They play cautiously in the sun, go to school, receive medical care, and feel part of something. It is not perfect, but it is infinitely safer than the world their parents hid them from. The island, however, is not free from threats. Its growing international visibility has attracted support, but also risks. misguided tourism, exploitation, and even new acts of hostility. Constant protection remains an urgent necessity, even as the community grows stronger every day. As you have seen, Ukerewe is not just an island, it is a symbol of resilience and dignity. On a continent where albinism has been condemned to silence and fear, this little paradise has shown that destiny can be changed with humanity, education, and courage. It is a place where many can finally just live. But if there is one island that seems like it came from another planet, it would be the island you are about to discover, known worldwide as the Alien Island. Socotra, Yemen, the strangest island on the planet. This island was awarded the title of the strangest place on Earth by UNESCO in 2008, which also designated this remote island a World Heritage Site. The strangeness of this island is due to its unique flora, fauna, and landscapes, which look like something out of a fantasy movie. For all these reasons, it is also known as the Alien Island, as it seems to have been taken from another planet, because its unique species and landscapes are found nowhere else in the world. Socotra is located in the Horn of Africa, an exceptional place with 3 geographical features: coastal plains, a limestone plateau with caves, and the Hagir Mountains. Geographically, it is located 350 kilometers southeast of the coast of Yemen, the country to which it belongs. Socotra is a unique place on the planet, so much so that there are around 700 species that can only be found here. This is because until recently, the island was isolated from almost everything, and between June and September, it was practically inaccessible due to strong winds and powerful waves along its coastline. The island of Socotra is also one of the most remote places in the world. Until 1999, access to the island was difficult due to monsoons, and it was only possible to reach it by sea. In July of that year, its first airport was finally opened. Most of the island's inhabitants have lived for generations without electricity, running water, or paved roads. Among Socotra's wonders is the Dracana cinnabari, known as the dragon's blood tree, whose peculiar shape resembles an umbrella and is emblematic of the island. This tree is known for its dark red sap, which resembles blood, hence its name. According to popular belief, this tree, also called the dragon tree, was born from the blood spilled in the fight between an elephant and a dragon. The resin of the dragon tree has traditionally been used as a medicine to treat a variety of ailments. It is believed to have antimicrobial and healing properties, so it has been applied to wounds to speed up healing. Socotra is home to more than 800 species of plants, more than a third of which are endemic and unique to the planet, such as the cucumber tree that adorns the cliffs and mountains. The fauna of this place is also incredible and found nowhere else in the world, with around 140 species of birds, including the Socotra cormorant, which is found nowhere else in the world. Historically, due to the lack of access to modern doctors and hospitals, the Socotrians have relied heavily on the island's natural resources to meet their medical needs. This ancestral knowledge has been passed down from generation to generation, turning the island into a kind of natural pharmacy. In Socotra, women still dress in colorful clothes and participate in poetic evenings around the fire, where stories are told in an ancient language related to that of the Queen of Sheba. It is usually the legends of mystery, like those of their mountains, that are most popular with the people of this remote island. These mountains of Socotra are not only impressive from a geological point of view, but according to local tradition, they are associated with beliefs in genies and supernatural beings that are believed to inhabit the most remote and mysterious regions of the island. Surely all this has a lot to do with the fact that many consider the island of Socotra to be the legendary island of Sinbad the Sailor, the iconic character from the stories of 1001 Nights. As you can see, Socotra's geographical isolation, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, its unique beauty and fantastic places, together with its history as an important trading and cultural center in ancient times, make this place one of the most magical corners of the planet, a corner where human life is scarce, much less common than on the next island on the list, recognized as the most populated place on the planet. Santa Cruz del Islote, Colombia, the most overpopulated island in the world. This artificial island is famous for having been created by humans and for being the most densely populated place on the planet. Santa Cruz del Islote is an island located in the Caribbean Sea, belonging to Colombia, and was artificially constructed in a compact area of just 10,000 square meters, where more than 600 people live. To put it in perspective, 10,000 square meters is approximately 1 hectare, or slightly less than a professional soccer field, which, considering its population, would be like having more than 600 people living in a soccer field every day. And as if that weren't enough, there are about 100 houses distributed in that tiny space. This perspective makes it clear why it is considered the most densely populated island in the world, and why, in this corner of the Caribbean, every step you take is literally next to your neighbor. It would probably be hard to imagine what it's like to live in a place where your neighbors are always less than 2 meters away, a daily reality faced by the inhabitants of this peculiar and now famous island. In its early days, Santa Cruz del Islote was simply a passing islet. It was built by hand by native communities using stones, rubble, coral, and even garbage. Over time, this small piece of land grew, gaining space from the sea and becoming what we know today as one of the most unusual islands in the world. Due to the extreme lack of space, the architecture of the islet is unique and creative. The houses are built very close together, many of them sharing walls, and there is hardly any room to move around. The inhabitants have devised ingenious solutions to make the most of every inch and adapt to the living conditions in this corner of the Caribbean. In Santa Cruz del Islote, boats are everywhere. They are moored floating next to houses or even parked on concrete patios. This is because most residents live from fishing and need to travel frequently to other areas. Therefore, having a boat is essential for every family living on the island. The density is such that it is not uncommon to hear the snoring of neighbors trying to sleep. It is estimated that there are about 100 houses for more than 600 people. Despite these conditions, the island is full of color and life. The houses are painted in vibrant colors: lettuce green, banana yellow, sky blue. Children play in the narrow streets, and adults share homemade food, conversation, and dancing to the rhythm of local music. One of the most surprising curiosities of Santa Cruz del Islote is that it has no cemetery, so it could be said that, similar to the Norwegian island of Longyearbyen, it is also forbidden to die here. The reason for this has nothing to do with permafrost but with overpopulation, as so many people live in such a small space that there is no room to bury their dead. Therefore, the inhabitants must transfer the bodies to the mainland or other nearby islands for burial. This fact reinforces the idea that in Santa Cruz del Islote, every square meter is full of life. This is very different from what happens on what many consider to be the most haunted island on the planet, an island full of terrifying dolls. The island of Dolls, Mexico, the most terrifying island on the planet. The island of Dolls is located in the canals of Xochimilco, south of Mexico City. As you will now see, it is one of the most disturbing and enigmatic destinations in the world. This place, surrounded by water and dense vegetation, is famous for its numerous dolls hanging from trees and buildings on the island. Although the island may seem picturesque at first glance, its gloomy atmosphere and disturbing legends have made it a place of great interest for lovers of mystery and horror. The legend behind the island of Dolls is as disturbing as it is fascinating. It is said that the former owner of the island, Julian Santana, began placing dolls in the trees as a tribute to a girl who drowned in the nearby canal. According to legend, Santana believed that the dolls were possessed by the girl's spirit, and that by hanging them on the island, he could appease her restless soul. The story takes an even darker turn when it is said that Santana died in similar circumstances to the girl, drowning in the same canal. This further fueled the belief that the island is haunted and that the dolls have a supernatural connection to the place. Today, the island of dolls is known for its macabre appearance and the stories of unexplained phenomena reported by those who visit it. Visitors have reported feelings of being watched by the dolls, which seem to move on their own in the wind. One of the most disturbing legends claims that many of these dolls whisper at night. According to some witnesses, at sunset, the silence of the canal is broken by almost imperceptible children's voices, as if the dolls were sharing secrets or trying to communicate with the living. Some claim to have heard whispers right behind them, even though there was no one else on the island. And the most chilling thing, there are those who claim to have seen the dolls move their eyes or turn their heads slowly, even when there was not the slightest breeze. Some say that the soul of a girl who drowned in these canals is what continues to inhabit this island. A supernatural presence that manifests itself through the dolls. The deteriorated and worn appearance of the dolls, many of which are broken or mutilated, contributes to the atmosphere of terror in this place, circumstances that lead many to consider it a haunted island, and, even more so, the most terrifying island on the planet. For all these reasons, despite its fame as a tourist site and the fact that there are no poisonous snakes or hostile tribes on the island, most people who visit this place, as soon as they set foot on it, feel watched by these sinister dolls, their skin bristling, and they do not stay long. At Uncensored World, we hope this video has helped you discover the most bizarre and strange islands in the world. If so, don't hesitate to give us a like and leave a comment. It's the best way to help us continue working every week to bring you more interesting content like this. Or like this video, which you can watch now to discover another of the most mysterious and beautiful places on the planet. Click on it. You're going to enjoy it.